Hey everybody, it's Jackie Luqman, and today is a pivotal day, I think. Don't you? I'm sure you do, in politics in the United States. And we just came from doing our weekly midterm roundup. Uh-oh, looks like, oh, hold on. Oh, there, no, that's right. I'm sorry. Got audio issues that I'm always trying to make sure we stay on top of. But we just came back, Abda Shahid and I, just came back from doing our weekly midterm roundup segment on Loud and Clear. And as we were doing the segment, the vote to advance Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation to the Senate was taking place, and there was all this drama, and I'll have the link for you to our Loud and Clear segment today. From today, if not tomorrow, then I'll definitely have it by Sunday, and we'll post it up for you to listen to. It was a really great show. It was very interesting to sit in the studios of Sputnik Radio with Brian Becker, and see all of this going on in real time and talk about it. And it was really interesting. But what I want to talk to you today, really quick, because, obviously this is a big deal. But I have a real problem. I'm really concerned with some of us on the left and who we think are our friends in this political fight. Because, as you probably know by now, Jeff Flake said that he would not vote to confirm Brett Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court unless there is a limited FBI investigation into the allegations that were brought forth against him by Dr. Ford and at least 3 other people now. And people are celebrating that like that's a woo, yay, yay, Jeff Flake. Jeff Flake is not your friend. Jeff Flake is not a hero in this. There is no Republican, even though every Republican none of them should vote for this man. No one should vote for him. But people believing that because Jeff Flake made this announcement, that he is some kind of hero. He's not. Hey Angie, hey Shirley over on YouTube. He's not a hero. If he were a hero, the vote would have been no. He would never have considered voting for this man. If any of the people who are deciding on Brett Kavanaugh as the nominee for the next Supreme Court justice were actual heroes in this political fight we have, none of them would have considered voting for this man. But see, the problem with some of us on the left, those of us who are left of the current Democratic Party, we have decided that Democrats are our enemies all of the time. And listen, I'm not saying that Democrats don't have serious problems. They are. The Democratic Party is a mess. The Democratic Party is a mess. It is full of cowards. Part of the reason we have such a horrible, not just one choice for Supreme Court justice nominee, but the alternatives are equally as bad. I mean, you need to understand that if Brett Kavanaugh is not confirmed, then the next person that is on Trump's short list or was on his Trump list, his short list before he selected Kavanaugh, the next person is just as bad as far as policy is concerned, as far as the way they interpret the law is concerned. And if that person doesn't get confirmed, then the next person Trump has is just as bad. So honestly, the Republicans win in this case. It doesn't matter who gets confirmed. It doesn't matter at this point. It almost doesn't matter if Brett Kavanaugh gets confirmed or not at this point, because the Republicans win. They win because they turned this particular confirmation hearing for Brett Kavanaugh that should have been focused on his veracity and his fitness as a candidate to be a Supreme Court justice. But instead, they turned the focus on to, and not just the Republicans, but Brett Kavanaugh himself did this. They turned the focus of these confirmation hearings, especially today's hearing, into a political witch hunt. The first thing that man said, the first thing Brett Kavanaugh said when he sat down to testify today was that this is a political witch hunt. No sympathy for, no understanding for, no compassion for, no recognition of the gravity of this situation and the difficulty that Dr. Ford is placed in now, having to relive this horrific incident. And the gravity that he should have expressed, the respect that he should have expressed at the gravity of these proceedings, which would have shown people that, okay, at least he's serious-minded and he has respect for the process. He didn't even do that. And the Republicans in that chamber backed him up on it. The Republicans, like I said, what Kavanaugh, the first thing he said, his first comments were, this is a political witch hunt orchestrated by the Democrats. And unfortunately, because so many of these new left folks, these new progressives since Bernie Sanders, who don't have any real grasp of political history and honestly don't want to learn. Can I just be honest? Some of y'all just really don't want to learn. So you believe that because you hate the Democrats so much that Brett Kavanaugh really is the subject of a witch hunt orchestrated by the Democrats. I've seen this argument with my own eyes. I've seen it. It's all over social media. I've heard it from some people in person. And I'm wondering if I'm living in some kind of twilight zone, but I forget that Americans are not as well versed in our political process as people in other countries might be in theirs, because our educational system, our public education system is crap. And because we're all brainwashed to take the easy way out, and those of us who have come to some understanding that things are not the way we have been conditioned to believe that they are, we've taken the time, the little bit of time we have outside of working ourselves to death in order to keep a roof over our heads and keep ourselves fed and clothed. We've taken the time and done the really hard work of understanding the political history, the policy implications, the players, all of these people involved, who they were, what they meant, what they did, and how that all affects us and what it all looks like and how it impacts today. So I have to remember that a lot of people who are new to this political sphere, because of Bernie Sanders, which is not a bad thing. It's great that Sanders woke all of these new people up. But a lot of these people do not want to take the time to learn what's really going on with this system. So they they have come to this hatred of all things Democrat because of the way the DNC handled the primaries and rigged the primaries and disenfranchised Sanders delegates and straight stole the primaries from Bernie Sanders. I understand. Yes. So people believe that the Democrats are corrupt and they're evil, and they believe that the Democrats are their enemies. And that's fine if you think that, because those are legitimate issues that the Democrats must answer for. Still, here's the problem. Believing that because the Democrats are your enemy, that the Republicans must be your friends. That's the problem I'm seeing play out in real time with the nomination on the confirmation hearings of Brett Kavanaugh, because you've got people who are claiming to be progressives, claiming to be on the left of establishment Democrats, agreeing that these proceedings around the sexual assault allegations are just this witch hunt. As Angie Roten on YouTube said, that has been orchestrated by Clinton against Kavanaugh to make the Republicans look bad. When what you're doing is siding with someone who not only shouldn't be a Supreme Court justice, but he should actually probably be impeached from his seat on federal benches. Let me show you why. This is the guy people on the left are coming to the defense of. Let me share my screen here for you so you can see what I am talking about. And this is why political history is so incredibly important. I hope that comes up for you. There you go. Hacking controversy from early 2000s resurfaces during Kavanaugh hearings. That's why this is important, you all. Manuel Miranda is a name that you need to Google. Of course, I'm going to, or DuckDuckGo, or whatever you use, whatever search engine you use, you need to look up Manuel Miranda. I'm not going to read this whole article to you, but let's see. Let's go down here. This is the problem. This is one of the problems with Brett Kavanaugh. This is a problem I have with people on the left siding with Brett Kavanaugh and people who support him just because they hate the Democrats. Miranda, the former Republican counsel on the Senate Judiciary Committee, was involved in an infamous episode around 2002 in which he gained computer access to records stored by Democrats on the panel. What panel is this? I'm sorry. The panel is the Senate Judiciary Committee panel. Brett Kavanaugh, the same Brett Kavanaugh who is now the nominee, the Republican nominee for Supreme Court Justice, was the associate counsel at the White House at this time, working on judicial nominations. Who was the president at this time? George Bush. Brett Kavanaugh was the associate counsel for George Bush, working on judicial nominations. Manuel Miranda hacked into the Senate Judiciary Committee Democratic computer servers and stole a bunch of documents that laid out the Democratic strategies for challenging Bush's judicial nominees. Senator Leahy had repeatedly asked at prior confirmation hearings whether Kavanaugh received information that Miranda got from the Democratic files. What previous confirmation hearings? This isn't the first time Brett Kavanaugh sat before Congress to be confirmed for a position on a judicial bench. This is how he got to be a federal judge. He was confirmed. He was nominated and confirmed, and this issue was brought up then. I think this was in 2012 when it was asked the first time. But this is from this week. Leahy said in a statement Wednesday that Miranda and another staffer were behind what he called the hacking of 4,670 computer files and used them to, quote, assist in getting President Bush's most controversial judicial nominees confirmed, end quote. He said Kavanaugh worked hand in hand with Miranda to help nominees win confirmation. Kavanaugh has consistently denied that he knew anything about Miranda's access to the files. Asked Wednesday by Senator Lindsey Graham, a Republican of South Carolina, whether he knew he was dealing with stolen property, Kavanaugh responded no. Leahy, however, on Wednesday cited emails that have been made public only in recent days that he said suggested that Kavanaugh may have known more than he previously acknowledged about Miranda's information. In an email on July 30th, 2002, Miranda wrote Kavanaugh that he wanted to give him and another White House official some info related to an upcoming nomination hearing. Kavanaugh responded that he could talk on the phone at 12:15 that day. It is not clear from the documents that was discussed what was discussed in the phone call, blah, blah, blah. All right. Separately, Miranda emailed Kavanaugh and another White House official that intel suggests that Leahy will focus on all things money at a 2002 confirmation hearing. Miranda, in a telephone interview, said that he worked closely with Kavanaugh on the nominations. Of course, he said that he never told Kavanaugh that he got the information he shared with him from the Democrats. Of course, he can't say that because then he would be admitting to committing a crime, admitting to hacking into the Senate Democratic servers and stealing the documents. But he did say that I worked closely with Kavanaugh on the nominations. He said, I can tell you for a fact that Brett didn't know that the documents were stolen because no one knew that the documents were stolen aside from some other staffers. But there is also an article in Slate magazine that directly contradicts this. This is why you have to do this work, you all. You have to read different sources. You have to dig into the history. You have to understand who these people are. This is an article from Slate magazine about this issue. This article was written by someone who wrote the memos that were stolen by Manuel Miranda. I wrote some of the stolen memos that Brett Kavanaugh lied to the Senate about. Look at the date. September 7th. So what does Lisa Graves have to say about these emails? In 2004, Senator Orrin Hatch asked Kavanaugh directly during his confirmation hearings for his positions on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit. Orrin Hatch asked Kavanaugh directly if he had received any documents that appeared to have been drafted or prepared by Democratic staff members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Kavanaugh said then no. In 2006, Senator Ted Kennedy asked him if he had any regrets about how he treated documents he had received from Miranda that he later learned were stolen. So Miranda lied in the interview to the Washington Post. Kavanaugh did know that the documents that he received from him were stolen. Kavanaugh rejected the premise of the question, restating that he never even saw one of those documents. However, back then the senators didn't have the emails that they have now. But in the emails that were discussed in Kavanaugh's current confirmation hearings, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find, okay, here it is. Back then, the senators did not have the emails that they have now, showing that Miranda sent Kavanaugh numerous documents containing what was plainly researched by Democrats. Some of those emails went so far as to warn Kavanaugh not to distribute the Democratic talking points he was being given. If these were documents shared from the Democratic side of the aisle as part of normal business, as Kavanaugh claimed last week, he claimed that last week, to have believed in his most recent testimony, why would they be labeled not for distribution? And why would we, the Democrats, share our precise strategy to fight controversial Republican nominations with the Republicans they were fighting? In the hearings this week, this was the week of September 7th, Senator Leahy also noted that the previously hidden emails showed that Miranda asked to meet Kavanaugh in person to give him paper files with useful info to map out Senator Joe Biden and Dianne Feinstein and others. In response to Leahy's questions this week, Kavanaugh made the outlandish claim that it was typical for him to be told what Democrats plan to ask at these combative hearings over controversial nominees, and that this was in fact the coin of the realm. But the author of this article says, as a Democrat who worked on those questions, I can say definitively that it was not typical at all. Kavanaugh knows this full well. Now, listen, I understand that people are so turned off by Democrats that you don't even want to listen to the reasons why the Republicans aren't your friends just because they say the current issues that are being addressed with the sexual assault allegations against Brett Kavanaugh are some Democratic led witch hunt. Because, I mean, people have hopped off the stream on Facebook because you actually think that I'm sitting here saying things to support the Democrats. But what I'm trying to tell you, folks, those of you who claim that you are so far left of the Democrats that you hate them, is that the Republicans that you are supporting because you hate the Democrats are not your friends, because they nominated a man they know is lying. This is not the first time Brett Kavanaugh has faced these questions about these stolen documents from the Senate Democratic computer servers that were hacked by GOP strategist Manuel Miranda. It's not the first time, and it's not the first time he has blatantly lied about these documents, whether he's seen them, whether he knew they were stolen, whether he received them. Even before the emails surfaced this last week, Kavanaugh knew these documents were stolen because at the time, this was an enormous scandal that broke all over Washington, D.C. So Kavanaugh has not only lied in front of the current confirmation committee for this position on the Supreme Court, but he lied to get his job on the D.C. Circuit Court on a federal bench. Not only that, but he lied when he was working in the Bush White House, receiving these stolen documents that he knew doggone well were stolen. He knew that the Democrats wouldn't share with the Republicans their strategy for challenging the Republican judicial nominee. Come on. But this is the guy that so many of you new progressives on the left who hate the Democrats so much are supporting, because you hate the Democrats, not even paying attention to what kind of person, what kind of nominee this man is, who he worked for, George Bush, how he got to the positions he was in. He's a liar. He trafficked in theft of documents. He met with people in secret to receive information that was stolen in order to get a political advantage over his opponents. We're so focused on these meetings that Trump and his associates have been involved in, thinking that we're going to find some collusion there to get rid of Donald Trump. But the Republican Party has been trafficking in collusion and lies and theft to get their way in politics since forever. But because y'all hate the Democrats so much, you don't care about that. All somebody in Washington has to do is say to too many people on the left that the Democrats are unreasonable, they hate the Democrats, and mention Hillary Clinton's name, and then folks on the left, all of a sudden, all the Republicans are your friends. And these are the very people who are putting sexual predators, liars, and thieves not only in Congress, but wanted but put them in mayors' offices, but put them in state houses, and wants to put another one on the Supreme Court. But because you hate the Democrats so much, the Republicans are your friends. They must be the ones who... How about this? How about this? For the actual truth. The Republicans and the Democrats are friends with each other. They're the ones who are friends. Those groups of people are our enemies. And let me make this clear. I'm not sitting here defending the Democrats. I'm absolutely not. Because just like it took me 10, 15 minutes to look those articles up and read through them and recall this scandal and understand in 10 to 15 minutes why not only Brett Kavanaugh should not be confirmed as a Supreme Court justice, should be impeached from his current position on the bench, and every Republican, including everybody's new hero, Jeff Flake, should be run out of Congress. But see, the Democrats are complicit in this too, because some of them were there when this happened. Almost all of them know about this happening. They know that the emails were raised in this current confirmation hearing, and they didn't make an issue of this. They haven't made an issue of this. How many Democrats have you come out on any media outlet raising the alarm about this issue that I just told you about a few minutes ago? So the Kamala Harrises and the Cory Bookers and the Democrats who walked out of the confirmation hearings today, oh, it's beautiful political theater. It's beautiful, beautiful political theater. It's very emotion evoking. It's beautiful political theater. But it doesn't mean anything. It does not mean anything when they allowed this process to get this far, knowing what they all know about this man's record of lying and colluding with thieves. In order to help President Bush, the second Bush, confirm some of the most controversial judges that at the time we had seen in 20, 30 years. So, I mean, I am really disturbed. I am really, truly disturbed at the lack of level of, at just how uninformed so many who say they are on the left really are about politics and policy, and who these people are that they are aligning with solely because they hate the Democrats, and they think that anybody who is an alternative to the Democrats is their friend. That that the enemy of your enemy is not your friend in politics, not in American politics, ladies and gentlemen. The Democrats in its current iteration are not our friends. Absolutely not. But just because they're not our friends and the Republicans call the Democrats out on their stuff, it doesn't mean that the Republicans are our friends or are even right either. But see, this is why we are in this mess in the first place. This is why we're in this mess in the first place. Because instead of being politically aware, politically astute, doing the hard work of understanding, learning, and understanding policy. Thanks, Angie. Learning and understanding policy. Putting policy over people and personalities. And not being afraid to challenge our favorite politicians when they don't operate for our benefit. That's why we're in this mess. Sitting here election after election over and over again, settling for politicians who really are not advocating for us. And then instead of doing the hard work of saying, okay, maybe this election will lose, but what we do have to do is build a viable third party or viable alternatives or fourth party, fifth party, so that people actually have a real choice. But instead of doing that, we do this lesser evilism. The Republicans are my enemy in this election cycle, so I'm going to vote for the Democrats because the Democrats aren't the Republicans. I've decided that the Democrats are our enemy in this election cycle because they're corrupt, and they are, but so are the Republicans. I've decided that the Democrats are my enemy, so I'm going to support the Republicans. This is what we do. And this is why when the Democrats had a very popular Democratic president, probably one of the most in post Great Depression history, Barack Obama, and had control of Congress, instead of pushing these people to pass policies that could have truly been transformative for the American people, what did we do? We got complacent. People got complacent and said, yay, the Democrats are in office, and didn't pay any attention and didn't push back when it was the Democrats who did what? Passed a Republican health care bill, health insurance bill, basically. And because some people are now coming to the realization of how they've been duped by the Democrats, they're believing that the Republicans are their friends. But the Republicans are just straight putting people in front of you who really are horrible, horrible candidates, politicians with horrible policies. People on the left are extolling the virtues of Republicans who are pretty much grandstanding and not voting or saying they're not going to vote for Kavanaugh now when they were fine with him before this letter came out from Dr. Ford. But remember, these are the same people, the exact same people who didn't have a whole lot to say about Roy Moore. You didn't have a whole lot. Yeah, as a matter of fact, you didn't have many Republicans who came out and were adamantly against the GOP as a party and Donald Trump as a president backing Roy Moore, a pedophile, sex offender in Alabama. Did we forget that that's who the Republicans are? Clearly we did, because we hate Hillary Clinton and the Democrats that much that we forget how awful the Republicans consistently, continually show themselves to be. So, look, I wish I could give you a prediction on this Kavanaugh thing. Sometimes I think he's going to be confirmed. Sometimes I think he might not be. I know that for the Democrats and the Republicans, all of this is theater. The Republicans are just telling you, yeah, we're going to confirm him. All right, we'll do this FBI investigation thing as a formality, but I'm telling you we're going to confirm him. That's what they're telling you. And this is the man you're supporting, the Republicans, in confirming? is it any wonder we don't have the foundation for a real people's revolution that we need to challenge this in this country? If these are the kind of people you're going to support solely because they're not Democrats, how ridiculous are you? You're putting all of our lives at risk by being as politically immature as you are. And not only are some of you politically immature, but you're arrogant with it. Your hubris is amazing. You don't want to listen to the people who have the information, especially if we black. And honestly, let me burst some of you all's bubble. If you believe that white women are suddenly going to rise up in this country and burn stuff down and take to the streets and demand some justice and push these people in the right direction, you've got another thing coming. We've been waiting for white women to do that all our existence here, and that's not happened. Because, see, you need to understand that some of the people who are defending Brett Kavanaugh are middle-class white women. Yes, you and all of your friends on the so-called left, no, you're not. But, middle-class white women voted for Donald Trump in record numbers, even after the Access Hollywood tapes came out. How are you expecting people who have shown you that they do not care what these old, white, rich, powerful men do to more vulnerable people, as long as they can get a piece of the power pie, if they stick with these old, white, powerful men? So honestly, folks on the left, if you're expecting women, the pussy hats, the feminist movement to grow, if you're expecting the Republican women, or likely women who are leaning Republican, or even moderate Democratic women, to all of a sudden put their capes on and take to the streets and save us from the patriarchy, don't hold your breath. Because that's one reason why Donald Trump is president. We need to be very clear in understanding that one reason patriarchy is still a problem in this country is because a lot of white women benefit from their proximity to power. So when you hear or see white women saying of Brett Kavanaugh and the kind of behavior that we're discussing here in these confirmation hearings, when you hear white women say, oh, well, what 17-year-old boy hasn't done that? Believe them. Please don't think these women are victims. They're not victims. They are co-conspirators in patriarchy. Understand that about some of these women. Okay, so now where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? Because I don't want to leave you on a negative note. It's been a pretty depressing, talk, hasn't it been? Where does that leave us? It leaves us exactly where we always were. We need to coalesce around labor issues. We need to coalesce around black issues. I know you don't want to, but we've been telling you that there is no revolution that has ever been successful in any country that started with the middle class. There's never been a revolution that started with the upper class that has ever been successful. Every successful revolution anywhere in the world has started with the poor, the working, the marginalized, the masses. So you need to align with the masses. Don't tell us that we need to come along and support your issues. You need to support our struggle, because see, our struggle is the foundation of all struggle. It's everybody's struggle. So whether Brett Kavanaugh gets confirmed or not, the struggle is us. The struggle is the labor movement. The struggle is workers. The struggle is minimum wage workers, fast food workers, tipped workers, sex workers. The struggle is workers. The struggle is black people. The struggle is homeless people. The struggle is disabled people. The struggle is women who understand the need to dismantle patriarchy. The struggle is gay people. That's the struggle. Those are the people and the issues you align with. Anything else, we get another 8 years of what we're going through now. Anything else, and your children continue to struggle with what we're going through now. Recognize who your enemy is. Leftists. While we can certainly, and we should certainly, criticize the Democrats for everything they have done and not done that they needed to have done that could have avoided much of this, please don't think that the enemy of our enemy is our friend in the embodiment of the Republicans, because they're not. The Democrats and the Republicans are friends with each other. We are their enemy. And among the we, you better understand who your friends are here. Because in this struggle, we are all we've got. So thanks for hanging out with me for a few minutes today. I think we will be with you this weekend on Pit Bulls and Politics, I believe. We'll definitely be back with you on Thursday night here on YouTube and on Facebook between 9 and 9:30 for Live and Coffee Current Events and Politics in Luqman Nation. Look, stay tuned. Who knows what's going to happen in the next week? We'll keep you posted. Consider supporting us on Patreon, GoFundMe, or through PayPal under Luqman Nation, LuqmanNation. If you like what you see here, the content that and the information that we provide you, share our videos, invite people to like our page, and subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. As always, y'all, be real good to each other. Have a great weekend and peace.